Erdogan came out as the number one winner of this equation, more so than even Israel. Do you understand? Like a growing, genuinely growing, and very volatile anti-Syrian, anti-refugee movement in his country. He basically gets to send a lot of, well, not even send the Syrians back. They voluntarily will go back to their homes. There are millions of Syrians living inside of Turkey, which has created a lot of anger and animosity against the Syrians in the country. He now also gets to have a major say in what happens in this, border nation. There's always been a lot of back and forth between Erdogan and Assad. If Syrians have voluntarily return to their homes, how is it a bad thing? Oh no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Look, no one should be forced out of their homes by a brutal regime, okay? That's why I'm saying that just like every other real movement during the Arab Spring, the Syrian revolutionary forces did not start at a incorrect starting point. There was a very valid reason for people to rise up against the Assad regime. As is the case globally, very quickly, I think other regional operatives, whether it be Russia that came to defend Syria, whether it be Iran that came to defend the Syrian regime, or whether it be America and America's obviously number one ally in the region, Turkey, and also Israel, that took advantage of the instability and used it to shove their own actors into the equation to suit their own interests. It will, however, never not be funny to me, someone growing up in the United States of America now for the past 10 years, to see a former Al-Qaeda leader get this much positive coverage. In my opinion, this is so close to the Afghan civil war, like in the ways that the American State Department operated there, and the valid reasons as to why many Muslims in Afghanistan were understandably against the USSR aligned Afghan government at the time. It is damn near identical. We know what happened in the aftermath of arming and offering logistical support to the brave Mujahideen. It is wild to me that we are once again doing the exact same thing. Now, I have no good solutions to this. I don't. I do not know what the best pathway forward for Syria is. But the only thing I will say is that it is understandable that the Syrians that were victim to the brutalities of the Assad regime are celebrating. Having said that, those who have quote unquote liberated Syria from the throes of Assad's brutal regime are unfortunately not great either. Are you also very concerned about Turkey taking its influence over the victorious rebel factions and turning them against the Kurds? I think either it's going to be a Balkanization that is still pieced up by the Western forces. Israel will also have a say. I don't suspect Turkey just straightforwardly pummeling the Kurdish groups in the region. And if they do, that will still be at the behest of America. We shall see.
The Assad family's home, the vast presidential palace, now a site for a sort of revolutionary tourism, an opportunity to reclaim some of the regime's ill-gotten gains.
Victory to Syria. Syria remains and Assad is in hell, in the dustbin of history.
But for millions of Syria's displaced, it's their own homes they're desperate to reclaim. So often these roads have been clogged with those fleeing to safety. Now the polarity has been reversed. Hope embodied in a traffic jam. But still plenty of space for fear of what's to follow. Already there's been fighting between rival rebel groups in the north, the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army taking the town of Manbij.
Remember when they were saying to me in the chat, oh, the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army, they're not, you're wrong. Turkey is not a player in this. Come on, dog. In my opinion, it's about to get more somehow. I'm a Syrian Christian just hoping whatever it is next for the country, my people won't be persecuted, to be honest. See, that's the other side of this. The other side of this is also, first of all, let me just say one thing. I think that Russia is so busy in Ukraine that they could not offer any sort of material support to Syria. But I don't even know if they wanted to. I suspect that Putin wanted Erdogan to make inroads with the Assad regime, and Assad refused, partially because they don't suspect Erdogan to be anything but a person who is operating at the behest of Western interests. But virtually every other group in the region that could offer any support, like Hezbollah, for example, has been destabilized and is now more focused on rebuilding Lebanon after Israel pummeled southern Lebanon. And all of the axis of resistance against Israel in the region is licking their wounds and trying to reconstruct. And Iran is spread too thin. This created an opportunity for all of the cells that are anti-Assad that range from secular forces, ethnic Kurdish militias, Marxist-Leninist forces, all the way to the Salafists, former Al-Qaeda and former ISIS operatives, and Turkish-backed Salafists to take advantage of this opportunity and seemingly take over Syria in a matter of a week. That is precisely what happened here. I am fearful of what will happen to the many different ethnic minorities, ranging from Kurdish people to the Shia population, the Christians, especially under, the Assyrians, especially under the rulership of, straight up Al-Qaeda. Like, these guys are former Al-Qaeda leaders. And if you listen to what they have to say, even the Salafists that are under the training of the Turkish government, like, make no mistake, like, some of the stuff that they're talking about is still very much global jihad. So it's a terrifying prospect. So I don't know what will happen. Stop being over dramatic. It's impossible not to see random people being released from prison and the celebration that invokes. Okay, it's a good thing objectively. I am not of the mindset that like every single person that was imprisoned by the Assad government was a ISIS terrorist or whatever. Okay, that's ridiculous. There are so many people who were falsely imprisoned. Having said that, however, the very fact that the major forces here, like major players in the coalition, being former Al-Qaeda leadership, I think it's understandable for me to demonstrate some level of concern, especially for all of the non-Sunni Syrian populations and even the Sunni Syrian populations, as a matter of fact. There is a reason why Hamas originally was in favor of toppling the Assad government, despite the fact that they literally operated in the way that they operate out of Doha right now. They used to operate out of Damascus, okay? Because there was a valid reason for the uprising against Assad. But if you are to expect me to sit here and be like, this is going to be fantastic for Syrians because the major coalition head, who was a former Al-Qaeda guy, is now saying, oh, that was just a phase. When we were like decapitating Christians, when we were beheading Christians, that was just a phase for me. I'm good with that. When I said global jihad and, rising up in arms against the Christian heretics, like, that was just a phase. I'm good now. It's hard for me to believe that. And this is before we even get to Israel in the equation as well. While the Assad regime is not exactly pro-Palestine and hasn't been for quite a while, Syria provided a logistical hub for the axis of resistance in the region. And it was a shaky allegiance that they had, specifically with the Iranian government. But it was still a logistical hub nonetheless. A logistical hub for Hezbollah and a logistical hub for, Iran in general. The Kurdish movement said they're ready to open discussions with all the forces. You are a little bit underestimating the capacity of Syrian people to organize. HTS are less radical than before, even from 2018, and not only after U.S. backup. They did that to get international sympathy for only after Assad order, and they got that. Did you see the Saydana prison? Yeah, I'm going to cover the Saydana prison as well. That part is really insane. Saydana prison apparently has, it's like a fresh hell. That's the one with the multiple floors that are impossible to reach at this point, right? Look, I question anyone that says like HTS is reformed. Only time will tell. I am very skeptical. We shall see. Having said that, however, there are literally multiple basement floors of the prison, inside of the prison complex, that are impossible to open up unless you have someone from the Assad regime. Syria, mind-blowing figure circulating about the Saidnaya prison in Damascus. The complex was believed to have up to 20,000 detainees, but the red building itself, photo, is said to have more than double. Some levels still haven't been reached. There are several floors under the Saidnaya prison which couldn't be reached so far due to the special unique security mechanisms. This is the red building. It's the section dedicated to civilians arrested by Assad's regime since 2011. There are who left the prison who thought that the former Assad was still in charge. Like, they just don't know what the is going on. After over 10 hours of work, the doors of the red prison of Saidnaya are finally broken. New waves of detainees are being liberated. The man filming, looking for his family while documenting this. How could we believe this is happening? I think it's important to note that the Turkish HTS is different from the Syrian Free Army, which captured Damascus. The latter is directly funded by America, whereas the former is indirectly through Turkey. Bottom line is they are distinct groups, and history suggests infighting may occur when there's a vacuum. So I don't think this spells the end of the Civil War. Yeah, I don't think so either. Rarely ever do you have like so much sectarian infighting amongst groups that are also directly being funded on either directly or indirectly through a regional ally like Turkey, still funded by, you know, the American State Department.